Bucksmont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's origins were, like many, humble, and in those early years, things were quite uncertain. However, through the efforts of a few tireless members, we continued, just like we do today, through the work of, yes, some paid staff, and the support of so many more people through their financial generosity and incredible volunteering of time. It was about 7 founders, according to one of their number, Frank Barnes, whose words were our reading this morning, who were meeting in the home of the Lane Palmer family on a Sunday evening in January 1961, when they decided to give it a try to begin a new congregation. Since that night, we've met in members' homes and moose halls, we've met in banks and Seventh-day Adventist churches. We met at Murray Grove for retreats and in any number of places for circle suppers. But the most steadfast gathering place for this community has been the building we have occupied since 1963, a former creamery, a sometimes school, and though the size has grown multiple times over now, it has been a home for this fellowship of Unitarian Universalists that has served us well. Even during this remarkable time, the work of this community has been supported from our space near the Little Neshaminy. And while we cannot gather all together in our space, we have continued to gather online. From our origins, we have been connected to our larger religious tradition as well. It was through the Philadelphia Area Committee for Unitarian Advance that the first families of Bucksmont began to meet about a possible congregation in the Bucks and Montgomery County area. They were members of the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia and the Unitarian Society of Germantown, yet they lived in an area near Hatboro and would over time come to be a gathering place for folks from a much larger geographic area. Our programmatic life has been as varied as our meeting spaces, but there have been a few anchoring themes to it that are worth remembering. One is that it was our religious education program that often led the way. Concern for our youngest members has been at the heart of what we've done, and our decisions around space reflect this fact. The first Sunday we offered religious education, we anticipated a handful of children, and more than 30 arrived, almost equaling the number of adults at that service. At the close of the second year of programming, we were asked to gather elsewhere by the Adventist congregation we had been renting from. And member Jack Meller led us to the creamery we would settle into and transform for more than half a century. We began a daycare center in 1965 and hired our first religious education director too, with 80 to 90 young people enrolled in our RE programming. Another major source of connection for us has been the music program. In 1990, the Bucksmont Choir was formed by then president of the congregation named John Hook. It began by singing an anthem at 2 services a year. Since that time, we have had instrumentalists of all stripes, vocal groups, bands, psalm circles, coffee house nights, and concerts made up of our members and participants from the larger community as well. Imagine a Sunday service where music wasn't a major component today. For more years than I have been on this planet, this community's stated purpose has been This is a free, creedless religious congregation in the discipline of truth and the spirit of universal kinship. We join together in a cooperative quest for religious and ethical values, seeking to apply these values to the development of character, enrichment of the spirit, and service to all. Whether we have been called together via advertisements in the local newspaper, by phone calls from friends, through Facebook events, mailed invitations, or over video conferencing platforms, we have continued to meet. There have been years when the budget was in crisis, years that volunteers were scarce, years when we have had floods, years when we have been in open conflict over the right path toward a more just world. And there have been years of incredible growth, years of celebration and building expansions. There have been years filled with singing and leadership in the larger world. This community, no matter how we meet, no matter where we meet, whether we have been large or small, called on a minister or not, we have held to the values of truth, the need for fellowship, and a place to explore our religious journeys with others. What I have witnessed this particular year is that the connections between us are stronger than geographic distance. Our relationships hold us together. We show up in ways our founding members could never have imagined. We continue to make music, to share laughter, to worship together, to care for those in crisis, to reach out to our children and youth, and to participate and provide a place to form a community of believers, non-believers, seekers, and skeptics. A place that holds up the idea that you matter and that love is more than a fluffy word, but rather a guiding principle that calls on us to change the world for the better. As we embark on our 60th year, we know what is possible is only possible together. May we remember all who came before us. May we imagine all who will come after us. And may we honor all who are present with us here and now. So may it be.